Yeah, great.
Good afternoon. My name is Phil Hewitt, Group Arts Editor at Sussex Newspapers. Fantastic pleasure, huge pleasure to speak to Ross Noble, no less. And you are heading our way on what is your 21st tour. You're coming to Eastbourne and Brighton very shortly. 21st tour. That is incredible longevity in comedy. You must feel enormously proud to have reached that landmark.
I thought you were going to say, and that is why you look as old and haggard as you do.
No, I couldn't say
I
that.
would just like to point out as well that I'm currently, I'm on tour at the moment, and I'm staying in, where am I staying? Ross on Wye,
Oh,
which is,
right.
which did my tour manager did point out that's the sort of thing that Channel 5 would turn into a series for me. It
Yes.
just go like it's Ross on Wye, but I'm, so uh I'm currently staying by a sort of a beautiful river and all the rest of it, which is why that's why there's an Ordnance Survey map.
I was
Just in
wondering, I thought you were planning your next run on that.
Well, people might be looking at this and just thinking that I'm in some sort of sauna, and I've got a large Swedish woman with some birch whipping my legs. I'm not. That is literally that's a cupboard, and that this isn't my house. That's I
The
haven't
thought
got.
never flitted through my mind, I promise.
I do this tour. I'm doing the whole thing with instead of GPS, it's all orienteering. So every single gig that I do has to be within visual distance of a trig point.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the 21st, that is
Yes.
a hell of an achievement, isn't it? And when you
No,
look back, and do you feel that you've become a very different comedian over the years? Have you changed?
I think I've become very different person, over that. I don't know if I don't know if I've become a different, have I become a different comedian? Yeah, I think I have. I think that, I mean, the difference is that when I started, I was I was a small child. I was a single bloke that just basically I mean, essentially just lived out of my car, was just traveling around doing gigs and dossing on people's floors and stuff. And then,
But now
you
you're a
know,
family man living on the other side of the world.
exactly. Yeah. And so you sort of, I think you do sort of, I think you change in terms of like no, things. My entire life was just being a comedian, and I think you can sort of, when you do a gig, and then you basically move to the next gig. That's your entire world, which makes you really good at being on stage. Makes you really good at being a comedian. But I think over the years, I was about. This sounds like I'm gonna write some sort of self-help book, but I think you sort of become a human being. You become a better human being rather than I used to think, oh, just being a really good comic. Oh, don't worry about all that. Don't
But you,
worry
you
about
must be
all
a
that.
better comedian for having more happening in your life, mustn't you?
Exactly,
More to
exactly.
draw on.
Turns out that that is the lesson that you need to learn. So yeah.
And obviously, come at a different perspective. You live in Australia, don't you? To come back to the UK, do you see the UK in a different way these days?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I was here. So we were living in Kent for like 10 years, and then we only moved back. So people always, when I'm here, people always think that like when I'm living here, people think I live in Australia. When I live in Australia, people always think I'm here. But I sort of, we split our time anyway because of the kids and all that. We have to sort of decide. So anyway, we've only been back there a couple of years now. But no, I do notice it. I think the big thing that I notice, which my only major criticism of this country, which everyone's used to it, so they don't realize, but the only thing that annoys me about Britain is the fact that, and when I say this, this will blow your mind, right? In Australia, when you go to the supermarket, you give them your bags, your recyclable bags and whatnot, and they put the bags next to them, and then they go bleep and they put it in the bag like that. So there's literally it go bleep and it's in the bag. And it takes less effort and less time than throwing the, you know how here it's basically they just go
Well, the
pick.
fact is, it's down to you to make that suggestion and see how it goes.
I'm gonna, when I eventually do run for Parliament, that will be my first thing. So that's the thing that I notice the most, and I always, every time I always forget, and I'll go to the, I'll be in the supermarket. I think, oh, I'll just get a few odds and ends, and then you go, would you like a bag? Yes, please. There's the bag, and then they just go, and they
It's
just
the
chuck
I
it.
one.
But the arts and the culture and the history and the availability of things is much better in this country than it is in Australia. So, you know, but yeah.
But Australia's where you're going to stay, is it, do you think?
No, I think I think once kids are through high school, then I'm gonna go back to what we used to do, which was perfect, was I'd constantly chase the summers. So I would basically, as soon as it got cold, I would go into Australia and then vice versa. So I was in a constant summer. So yeah, no, we'll come back here once they're once they're big enough. But at the moment, it's really hard to go right 6 months and then change school again. Anyway, but no, I'll be back. I'll be back for sure. But only if Marks and Spencers and Sainsbury's can decide on just a bit of basic human decency.
Right. Well, it's you down to you to make that change. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, really, really lovely to speak to you. Good luck
Likewise.
on your 21st tour, and thanks so much for your time, Ross. Thank you.
Oh, so yeah.